This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WYO Today Newsroom. Today on the show, I am joined by Myriad Uranium CEO Thomas Lamb. Welcome to the show, Thomas.
Hi, thanks. Great to be here.
So I wanted to get started just kind of getting a little bit of a background about your company. Now, I know that we've got some recent news about some expanded opportunities on Copper Mountain when it comes to uranium mining, but just tell us a little bit about your Myriad and what it's all about.
So Myriad is a uranium exploration and development company. That means we don't extract, but we look for uranium and then we measure how much there is in the ground. And then, down the road, it turns into a uranium mine. So that's what we're doing in Wyoming, right in the center of Wyoming near Shoshone and up the road from Riverton. Mm-hmm. There's a big project called the Copper Mountain Uranium Project. It saw a huge amount of investment in the 1970s by Union Pacific Railway. They were going to turn it into a large-scale uranium mine. And then the 3 Mile accident hit in 1979. Everybody went away. But we're back. And Myriad Uranium is there at Copper Mountain. And hopefully we're going to turn it into one of America's largest uranium projects.
Wow.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So what I've read is that we've got kind of an agreement with the BLM for up to 222 boreholes, and that you're currently bonded for 70, and that you're looking at kind of a phased approach to get more bonded. And I'm wondering, what is that going to look like here on the ground? What kind of phased approach are we talking about?
So what happens is we've gone in and we've done environmental, wildlife, water, ecological, archaeological studies. So we know how to preserve this hillside. It's a beautiful south-facing hillside, again, near Shoshone. What we do is we bring in our drills. These are, people know what big drills look like. Probably 3 or 4, possibly 5 of them. We bring them up on the hillside and we create drill pads. These are areas, 20, 30 feet by another 30 feet. The drill sits on there and we drill holes into the ground between 300 and up to 1,500 feet deep. And then we send a probe down those holes. It's a bit like a Geiger counter for those of you who don't know much about uranium probes. Actually, not many people do. And we measure the amount of uranium that we encounter as the probe travels down this hole that we drilled. We do as many of those holes as we can. Again, we're permitted up to 222. Then we drive the drills back down the hill, and we send everything to the laboratory to confirm and find out what's in the ground. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the procedure. So we do that all over the hillside in phases. We start with areas where we know there's uranium from past work, and then we expand out to new areas where we speculate that there might be uranium. Usually we have reasons for that. And we just keep drilling. We want to find as much uranium as we can over the next year, 2 years, phased approach. And this 222 holes, it can be expanded over time as long as your Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality and your Land Quality Division, approve these after we do a lot of careful work to make sure that we're not going to harm the environment, cause any issues there. And we just keep expanding until we've measured how much uranium is in the ground. Mm-hmm. That's our business.
So you're thinking to reach this 222 benchmark and maybe beyond that, might take a couple of years, or what's the pace like for these boreholes?
Yeah, that's correct. So with, let's say with 3 or 4 drills, we maybe drill 30 or 40 holes over the course of a couple months. And so it will take some time. So we like to drill in chunks. Maybe we'll drill 30, 40, 50 holes, then we'll go away, analyze the data for several months, and then come back. Mm-hmm. because we sort of adjust the plan, not quite in real time, but almost in real time. What data are we getting back? And we can adjust the plan and come back. So that's why it all kind of adds up to a couple years.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned some previous work done by Union Pacific up on Copper Mountain here, and I know that you've been kind of building on some of the data that was collected during that time, and it sounds like initially you had access to sort of a summary, of the exploration that they'd done up there already, and you more recently got your hands on the full 600-page plus version. And I'm wondering a couple of things about that. First, how that sort of informs the work that you're doing here and sort of your sense of the potential on Copper Mountain. And also, what it was like to sort of hunt this thing down. I mean, was this like the hunt for a treasure map, or did you know it was out there somewhere and you were just still looking for it, or how did that work out?
So first of all, for those of you who are not in the mining business, I want to tell everybody that mining and mineral exploration around the world is very exciting. It's very interesting. It really is like a treasure map. It's a bit like Indiana Jones, or it can be. And part of the reason, well, first of all, Mother Nature is amazing. It's incredibly interesting and complex, but also applying science helps. We have this incredible science that we can apply. Now, a lot of the work in uranium, so to go back to the data, a lot of the best work and the biggest volume of work in the uranium space was done in the 1970s. This was Cold War with Soviet Union. The United States was trying to find as much uranium as possible. And the United States was also building nuclear reactors to generate electricity. And you need a lot of uranium for that, and you need a lot of uranium for, nuclear warheads also. So huge amount of work was done, 1970s, but that was all paper-based. That was before computers. So literally rail cars full of data, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of filing boxes full of data were generated. And this is, as these projects were being advanced. And the people that were involved in that, they were in their 30s and 40s and 50s and older, and uranium experts. And then, something happened. 3 Mile Island accident. The United States turned away from uranium, decided to not produce very much uranium. The United States consumes, and has for many decades consumed 50 million pounds of uranium per year, but produces less than 1 million pounds inside the United States. So it's since 1980 or so, you have gotten your uranium from Canada, just north of the border, or Australia, and a few other places, but not inside the US. So what happened was all those experts, those uranium experts you had, they went off and did other things. They got involved in looking for gold and copper and other elements, or they went off to build, hydroelectric dams or things like that. So the experts went away, but also the paper-based data just sat there and eventually got scattered or thrown out. So fast forward, 2025, that's many years since 1979, 1980. And so we are on a constant treasure hunt. We are going to archives. We are asking people who worked on these projects in the late 1970s. Of course, they're much older now. They've got some of these documents in their basements, in their filing cabinets. They're very dusty. They've got rolled up maps. And we are going all over the United States, all over the world to find data that relates to the Copper Mountain project. It's very exciting. You never know, one day to the next, you get a phone call. Somebody says, I've just found something in my basement. It could be very interesting. And that is literally what we've been doing. And we've been adding to our paper-based data, our files, and we digitize them. We put them into the cloud, and then we actually use artificial intelligence in some cases to add it all together, assimilate it, interpret it, and we're using a mix of old technology, paper-based data, and then all this new artificial intelligence, which is absolutely incredible. So we're combining the old and the new, and it's a treasure hunt, and it's science. It's a wonderful business, fascinating business to be in. That's what we're doing.
So would you say when it comes to Copper Mountain that this Union Pacific study is kind of the gold mine, when it comes to the potential up there?
Yeah, we've really hit the jackpot with it. That's right. You asked me what's the significance of it. It really, I was about to say something like Big Lebowski, it ties the room together. It really, it summarizes a decade and a half of very high level work, mostly by Union Pacific, that was done in the 1970s. The U.S. Department of Energy engaged a high level firm called Bendix to go in and look at all the historical data relating to Copper Mountain, plus they generated new data. They drilled a lot of their own boreholes, and did surface work, and they put it all together in this beautiful report, which we now have, and it's really a roadmap, a treasure map, a guide to the entire project. We're so lucky to have it, and it basically says there's a huge amount of uranium. Here is why. Here's a lot of the data that you need, and now we're on our way. So we're basically applying the information we have from this report. We have some of the information that the report is based on. We've had that for a few years, but this is a kind of an overarching document that provides a fantastic guide. We really think it's going to allow us to unlock Copper Mountain, really, get the most out of the project, and hopefully it turns into the large-scale uranium mine that it was destined to be. If it hadn't been for the 3 Mile Island incident, Southern California Edison, which was going to build a whole bunch of reactors, and Union Pacific were going to kind of partner on the Copper Mountain project. That was the plan. That never happened, but let's see, maybe history will come all the way around, and we'll turn this project back on, and it'll power the United States.
Yeah. So I think that I read somewhere that, either part or kind of this expanded area that's looked at under this Union Pacific report estimates over the potential for more than 600 million pounds of uranium. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe that's just a tip of the iceberg here, but nope. Can you kind of put that into scale for us, or what kind of potential are we talking about here, and how does that sort of compare to maybe other, sites like Copper Mountain out there?
Okay, so the broader area at Copper Mountain is estimated to contain 655 million pounds of uranium down to 600 feet. Now, these days, we probably even go much deeper than 600 feet, but that's what they were looking at back then. This would make Copper Mountain, if all that uranium was exploited, taken out of the ground and turned into reactor fuel, it would certainly make it one of the largest uranium projects in North America. There are very few projects that would even come close to comparing to that. So it just says that there's a huge amount of uranium. The thing is, because of the way mining works, the practicalities, we would not be mining all of that uranium. It would only be practical to extract some proportion of that uranium, because some of that will be low grade, the percentage in the ground will be low, some of it will be difficult to access could be a variety of reasons. So we don't know what percentage of that will turn into a mine. But I will say that, Wyoming is the big producer of uranium in the United States. Last I checked, 4 out of the 5 producing mines in the U.S. Were in Wyoming, produces around 70% of America's uranium. Wyoming is the center of the uranium sector in the United States. And the big projects in Wyoming are 20, 30, 40 million pounds, 50 million pounds. So 655 million pounds is a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But again, I have to go back to, so huge, potentially huge, but we'd only be able to extract some fraction of that, whether that's 20%, 40%, 60% of that uranium is yet to be seen. We'd just be speculating at this point. There's a lot of uranium there, and it's, we're excited to find out how much of it is it would be viable to extract.
If you're just tuning in here, if you're just tuning in here, I'm speaking with Myriad Uranium CEO Thomas Lamb. We're talking about the potential for uranium on Copper Mountain here. Recently, a large number of documents, kind of a big full-scale study from back in the 70s under Union Pacific was discovered that sort of maybe unlocked some of the potential up there on Copper Mountain when it comes to uranium mining. And Myriad is here working on kind of an expanded plan for boreholes up there to, see really what's down there. And so, Thomas, I wanted to ask you, I think a lot of people maybe get a little confused about where we're at in this project. And it sounds like we're in this exploratory phase and we're not actually mining uranium yet. Can you speak to a little bit generally about, what comes next or where we're at in that process so people have a little perspective about what's going on at Copper Mountain here?
Okay, this is great. I'm so glad you asked that exact question, because it's really important for everybody to understand that that there are three phases in the mineral business. There is the exploring, then there is the planning, the mine, and then there is the mining. And those can be spread out over a decade, sometimes 15 years. And we are in the first third to the first half of this process. So it's a long process. We're merely drilling into the ground, still measuring how much uranium is there. So, we're several years away at least before we're pulling uranium out of the ground to sell, to generate electricity. So this is a high risk stage. All sorts of things can happen with these projects. Things can happen to the uranium sector. Wyoming has lived that several times where uranium in the 1970s, the price of uranium was high and then it dropped in the 1990s, mid 1990s it happened, 2006 to 2010. The price of uranium spiked and then dropped again. Now, for structural reasons, for global supply-demand reasons, it's different this time. The price of uranium should stay high. But that's an example of all sorts of things can happen here. Economics, the project itself, Mother Nature may not cooperate. It could take longer. So we're at an early stage, and it's too early for people to say, for example, that everybody should move near the mine to help us build a large-scale mine. We're several years, we're at least 2-3 years away from knowing that's definitely going to happen. So we're at a kind of a early to mid stage of this process. And then there's mine planning. It takes a couple years usually.
Yeah. So it sounds
I hope
like
that's helpful.
Yeah, a lot of work ahead. I'm glad you were able to sort of get our feet underneath us when it comes to sort of the timeline here and what we're actually doing on the ground when it comes to Copper Mountain. And I know there's a lot of unknowns out there, Thomas, but before we go, I was hoping, I keep kind of reading into this and sort of trying to get my arms around it. And I just keep hearing this excitement about the potential. And I'm wondering if you could just speak generally to, whether this is sort of a routine business for you guys or if this is something that you consider just especially promising that gets you really excited for the future.
This is legitimately very exciting. I've been involved in this business for 20 years plus around the world. Spent many years in Africa, Russia, Mexico, etc. And this is one of the most interesting and exciting projects I've ever been involved in. And the reason is it's in Wyoming, one of the best jurisdictions in the world, one of the best places to have a project in the world, number one. Number two, the uranium is there. This is extremely unusual for these projects where you know there's lots of uranium there. We just don't know if it's exactly how viable it is to extract it at scale. We don't know where all the uranium is exactly, what kind of mine would have to be built, et cetera. So there are lots of unknowns, but the uranium is there. That is just great. So this is one of these rare opportunities as a professional in the mining sector. We've got a tiger by the tail here. We've got, it truly is very exciting. So I hope that, this is what mining executives, CEOs dream of, is a project where the commodity is important. It's going to help people. We're going to generate lots of electricity, which is the U.S. needs that badly. You have to compete with China on data and artificial intelligence, and you need a lot of electricity for that. We get to help generate that electricity with this uranium. So we have a commodity that's important. We have a lot of that commodity, again, in Wyoming, great jurisdiction. This is exactly what you want as somebody just like me. And our management team, our board of directors, we're all very excited about this. Sorry to go on and on about it. We just, it's one of these opportunities. Now, I have to reiterate, and this is my old background as a lawyer. This business is high risk. It goes up and down, and there's lots of, it's hard to predict. So we don't know what's going to happen. However, we're excited, we're optimistic, and stay tuned. We've got a very exciting next 2 years ahead of us.
Well, I really wanted to thank you, Thomas, for coming in and filling us in on this. I think we see these headlines about uranium, about different nuclear initiatives, and the recent kind of a bid for this micro reactors here. And I think this gave us really an opportunity to sort of pull back the curtain and really explain what's going on here in Fremont County. And I'm really glad that you're able to sort of educate us on where we're at with that process and the potential that you're seeing up on Copper Mountain. So thank you so much for that, Thomas.
It's been a pleasure.
That was Thomas Lamb, CEO of Myriad Uranium, the company working up on Copper Mountain doing uranium exploration boring. You can listen to this show and any other WYO Today newsroom program by visiting the WYO Today Facebook and YouTube channel.